Peace, peace. What's going on, y'all? It's Hasan Salaam. About to head out to UK with my brother Rugged and Raw early tomorrow, so I wanted to make sure that I leave y'all with this new webisode for the Life in Black and White series brought to you by simplyflow.com. This one's a little bit different than the other ones. This one is from a show that I did in Boulder that actually, in the middle of it, I just had to stop the show and speak on some serious issues. I was brought out to do this show. I was contacted last minute about doing a show for Palestinian and Israeli solidarity. And on my way out there, I get a call from some people like, yo, you don't want to do this show. The people that put these shows together, they just get Muslim artists to kind of like rock, to show that they rock with both sides of the issue, but it's really like a Zionist label that actually puts out Israeli keffiyeh scarves. For those people who don't know, those are the scarves that people rock to show solidarity with the Palestinian people and they struggle, and it's a real serious symbol. So it's almost like, you know, for the oppressor to try to co-opt, you know, a sign of their liberation and their freedom. So, you know, I told the people I was gonna rock. I actually had the Muslim Student Association from Boulder come out to see me rock, so I got on the stage and I figured I would just break it down. And this is basically what happened. One of the dudes from the label, I called him on stage. He had some things to say, you know, so basically sit back, you know, do your knowledge on it, leave a comment, hit us up, let us know how you feel about it, and inshallah, you know, everything that I said was right and exact. You know, and anything that was positive that come from the Most High, anything that was wrong, just blame that on me and holler at me about it. But this is definitely a serious topic that everybody should know, because nobody in the world should ever be oppressed the way the Palestinian people are oppressed. And oppression goes on all over the world. So definitely, you know, sit back, relax, and do the knowledge on this right here. Freedom for all people. You heard? Peace. Hasan Salaam.
Now the reason that we're here is to talk about solidarity, correct? I mean, some of y'all probably just was like, oh snap, hip hop show, let me run up in here and get my party on. But to my understanding, the reason that this was thrown was to try and build solidarity between peoples who have been fighting for actually not as long as you would think. You know, the Palestinians and the Israeli conflict, is anybody not familiar with that in it? So I could skip that part. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, correct? All right. Now, both sides have been pit against one another for funding purposes. Because if you look back hundreds, even thousands of years, Muslims and Jews have got along together fine. It's very, very important that we understand that there are other forces that have their hand at play in these situations. Because, you know, somebody's getting rich off of young Palestinian children getting murdered in the street. Somebody's getting rich off of Israeli children getting murdered in the street. Somebody's getting rich off of all of that, you know? And pretty much it's the country where we live. You know, I'm not gonna bite my tongue. Y'all brought me up here. I'm sure y'all already knew what I was gonna say when I got here. So, you know, we could skip the formality. The one thing that I really did want to speak on, though, that's very important is some of my brothers and sisters did not come to this event. Because there is, everybody knows what a keffiyeh is, right? They kind of became like a fashion statement. People call them the Palestinian scarves or the Arab scarves. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like all of a sudden, Dipset started wearing them and people just caught on to it. And it became like a whole fashion thing, like Kylie Minogue or all these random people who don't even know what it means were running around with it on TV and MTV and stuff like that. So, some of my comrades didn't come because I'm not sure who or if that person is here, but there is a Israeli version of that scarf now. Is that person who made it here? Maybe? Yes, no, it's not here. Is a representative of this person here? Okay, so why don't you come on stage so we can talk about this? I know you got the camera right now, but for me, when I heard about it, I was hurt. I'm not a Palestinian. My mother's black, my father's white. Before I am a Muslim, before I am a color, I'm a human being. And I don't believe that anybody should oppress another person, regardless whether it's your sexual orientation, your color, I don't know what kind of shoes you like to wear. Nobody should ever be oppressed by another human being, because nobody is better than anybody else. Allah made us all equal. religion. And if I say Allah, Jah, Yahweh, God, Tao, whatever you refer to the Most High as, I don't feel that my faith. Malcolm X said it best. He said, "My faith is my personal business." You know, what I believe in is my personal business. That's not something that I should be forcing on another person. We should all be able to get along as human beings first and foremost, because everybody deserves everything that everybody else deserves: food, clothing, shelter, the right to provide for their family, take care of their children. Correct? Now, the reason I wanted to bring you up here about that is because if America's so, like I remember America, I'm using Malcolm X as an example just because it's been on my mind a lot. Y'all remember maybe like 5 years ago they had a Malcolm X postal stamp? That was the most disrespectful shit I ever seen in my life. Personally, I was just totally disrespected by that. Because why should America try to make money off of the person that they murdered? Off of someone who they held down? And the thing is with the scar, why people were insulted by it is because it is a symbol of Palestinian liberation, of fighting imperialism. You understand what I'm saying? So it's, So it's like, it's almost like if tomorrow America came out with a Black Panther shirt. It wouldn't make no sense. And people were really offended by it. Now, I was brought onto the show really late, and chances are, if I wasn't brought on, I'm a man of my word. I say I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here. Right. Chances are, if it was before and I was able to do my research, I probably wouldn't have came either. Because it is insulting. Because it isn't like the Palestinians are on one side as a sovereign nation with billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment to kill people. You know, and I'm not looking for applause. I'm not looking for, it's a touchy subject. So if you don't agree with me, it's fine. If you want to holler at me after the show, I'll be right back there. You could even buy a CD when you argue with me. But the thing is, in this particular situation, the Israelis are the oppressors. And it's almost as if it's capitalizing off of someone's oppression. And that's why the other people didn't come. You understand?
Right.
So on behalf of my folk, to maybe talk to your folk, if y'all could dead that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's really insulting and it's hurtful. It'd be almost like if we came out with something like if the Nazis came out with a yarmulke, with a swastika on it, you would be insulted, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see it the same way because my family's from Yemen. We've been wearing Arab clothing for thousands of years. When I got married, I had a henna. And I wore jalabia, kafia, all that stuff. So I mean, I understand if it's, you know, some Eastern European Jewish dude who's like, I mean, I didn't, you know, design it, the designer's not here, but just speak a little bit from my, you know, perspective and background. So yeah, I mean, I had, you know, a conversation with a couple of the rappers, and, you know, just letting them know. Like my perspective, you know, is if the kafia was, you know, like if Arafat, you know, designed the kafia in the 60s and that was like the thing. But you know, from my perspective, you know, there's 22 Arab countries that wear the kafia that don't wear it as a solidarity. There's Somalians, my family in Yemen. So I think, you know, I have just as much ties to Arab clothing as, you know, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. So I didn't see it as like, so I just see this as something we've been wearing for thousands of years, my family. When you go to Yemen, you don't know the difference between the Jews and the non-Jews except for the Simonim, the Peyot. So I mean, I've been, you know, my family's been rocking Arab clothing since the beginning. So I mean, I definitely respect that. And I, you know, when the first MC gave me, you know, he was like letting me know how he felt. So we kind of kicked it back and forth, and I was going through a lot of, you know, like kind of like where I was coming from. And he was singing a Zionist thing, like, because it says Am Yisrael Chai. I was like, no, Am Yisrael Chai isn't, you know, I wasn't born with the state or anything. Yisrael is like a name, B'nai Yisrael, Am Yisrael, from, you know, the beginning with Yaakov. Who you rapped about, the driller, except for a different dude. But so yeah, so you know, we had some back and forth, and a couple of the other MCs who I explained the situation, and they were totally down. And then I guess it got a little heated, and we understood, you know. So and they were like, "You're not gonna sell it, right?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna bring it. I'm not gonna sell it. Like, I understand it's a touchy thing." So you know, I have my place, and you have like your opinion, and be respectful of that. You know what I mean? There's other things I'm sure we disagree on, but I think we have more things that we hopefully agree on, and that's why we're coming together. You know, communicate.
Hopefully a chance to meet in the middle on some ideas and things like that. Because, you know, I think Well, actually, before I say anything else, because I've been running my mouth for a minute, is there anything that anyone would like to say in the audience about any of this?
I'm wondering why the article can't just represent something totally new. Like, why can't it lose its old representation and symbolize the union of, or something else, like what we're trying to look for in the future?
So here's a great example of why that can't happen. The N-word, nigger. So black people today say it to each other a lot. I don't say it to other black people, it's out of choice. But other black people do, and it's a term of like endearment for one another. But because that term had that history behind it,
The negative
I mean,
connotation.
anyone who is not black said that term. Around me, I'll probably tell you, hey, kid, you gotta watch that. Around some other people, you might get hit in your mouth and lay down on the ground. And so some things, even though you may want to change the meaning behind them, and the N-word arguably in a way it has, but it's not like white people can use it, you know what I'm saying? So I would that's kind of the similarity I see with that.
I think also the thing is, it's not over with. You know, there's still people dying. There's still houses being demolished. There's still a wall that's separating people from where they can go and provide for their families. And I think if we're here, it's fun to listen to music, to dance, but if we're saying that we're here for this cause, then we have to think about how we're actually gonna, if you want to say you stand in solidarity with people who are oppressed, you have to not be a part of that oppression. You know, since 2005, there's been a boycott on a lot of Israeli goods. Now, it doesn't mean that people have to turn their back on their people, but Zionism and Judaism don't have to go hand in hand. You know, oppressing one people, just like with Islam, it doesn't have to go with what people will say, oh, terrorism and Islam. That doesn't go hand in hand. One isn't one with the other. It's like people have to be able to separate things. But as long as it's going on, it's kind of hard to actually get rid of it. Just like the brother said with the word nigga. If a policeman pull me over right now and say that word to me, I'm not going to take that as a term of endearment. I'm not going to think, oh, well, he listens to Jay-Z, so it's all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a problem. You know, and it's still a word that affects us, and I think it's still in that situation. There's still a conflict going on where people are being oppressed.
We can come up with a different symbol.
I mean, if we came up with a different symbol, there'd be something good with that. I think symbols are good, but symbols without action don't really mean much.
Yeah.
And the same thing with music too. I mean, music can move people, but at the same time, there has to be more action behind it. The only things that are really understood, unfortunately, these days in this world is money and blood. So if you heard them in the pockets, they're more likely to listen to you. Great example, the Montgomery bus boycott. That wasn't like 2 days that people didn't ride the bus. They did that for a year. In Alabama, where it's hot as hell all the time. You know? People walking, our grandparents walking, instead of taking a bus. The reason they let us back on the bus and allowed us to sit wherever we wanted to sit is because we hurt their pockets. It wasn't like all of a sudden they felt like, oh, black people are okay now. You know? So it's kind of like you have to start with something and maybe keep moving with it. Anybody else have any comments? Yeah, we'll give you the mic because it's hard for everybody.
I mean, I think that's cool. You mentioned something. So what is that? If we could come up with a new symbol that represents, I think that's cool. So what is that symbol? And that may be a rhetorical question for now, but I think us coming together tonight.
But like I said, I think even more important than a symbol is action.
Yeah.
Like a symbol, symbols come and go.
Yeah,
people change symbols all the time, but I think if people actually created a mass movement, the symbol's the easy part.
Right.
The hard part is actually doing something that's going to change the world.